Hey there, Diane Conklin with Complete Marketing Systems and Diane's Dozen. Check it out. Go to dianesdozen.com if you want a copy of this entire sequence and series that I've gone through. Number 8. I love this one. Overprepare and you'll always be ready. Overprepare and you'll always be ready. Wow, Diane, I have so much to do. I'm so busy in my life and in my business. How am I supposed to be prepared, let alone over-prepare, right? So this is a situation where in sports, because that's what I'm doing, right? I'm talking about how it relates to both and how you can transition it. But in sports, this is about knowing your opponent's moves, knowing their habits, knowing what they're likely to do in any given situation, right? When are they going to run a zone? When are they going to throw a fastball? When are they going to hit a backhand? That kind of thing, right? When are they going to, what are they going to do after they score a goal? So that's about over-preparing to the point that you can be ready and anticipate. And sometimes you're going to be wrong, right? But that's the great thing about sports, is that it's a chess match. So in business, it's way easier. Way easier. You want to be ready for anything that happens. You will always want to be ready so you don't have to get ready, right? Be ready so you don't have to get ready is the saying. But the biggest situation and example where over-preparing always pops up for me is in speaking. And when I say speaking, I don't mean necessarily that you're speaking from the platform, speaking in a webinar, speaking from the platform, a coaching environment, a teaching, any kind of teaching, coaching, speaking kind of thing, right? Could be a Zoom that you're putting on, a master class, whatever you're calling it now, right? But I'm going to give you an example and you'll get this. The best speakers, and when I say the best speakers, I'm talking about in the sales situation. So the speakers who sell the most are the ones who are over-prepared. And I'm not going to name names here, but there's a speaker on the circuit still. He's been on the circuit for as long as I've been around, so 30 plus years. And literally, every time that he has ever spoken that I've been an event planner, he walks in with the transcript of his presentation that he's done hundreds, if not thousands of times before, and he's reading, he's going through it, he's rehearsing, right? When he walks in the room, at least usually an hour and a half before he's going to speak, sometimes the day before, and he has that every time I see him in the hotel. And when you ask him, how long will you be? This isn't the exact number, but he will say something like this. Diane, I will be somewhere between 89 minutes and 42 seconds and 93 minutes and 12 seconds. That's someone who has over-prepared. That's someone who knows exactly what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and what he does every time he gets to a certain point, right? He's a great speaker. He converts well. Another example I'll give you, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about me, but there was a speaker who has since passed who used to speak, and exactly the same time every time he would take off his jacket. He would take a drink of water at exactly the same time in his presentation every time. He would roll up his sleeves. And I didn't recognize it until I'd heard him speak a few times, because one of the things that he would say is, how many of you want to get started with this? It was something like this. These aren't exact words. How many of you want to get started with this week? Raise your hand. And hands would go up. He would say, well, great. Then what I need for you to do is go ahead and go to the back table. I want you to go ahead and get back there if you want to start quickly, because I want you to make sure that you get a course to take with you, because the hotel lost one of my boxes. I didn't realize until I heard him say this the second time. First time I was like, oh, isn't that too bad, right? But after I heard him, he exactly the same. It's preparing, over-preparing, because he knew what worked. He took the presentation that he had done that converted the best and did it over and over and over and over again. and still was studying the presentation, right? Two different speakers, but the same situations. Many of my speaking colleagues laugh at me, right? Make fun of me, whatever the right word is, because before I give a presentation, I will listen to the presentation for at least a week, sometimes 10 days. The best converting, so the one that I sold the most of, as I'm falling asleep at night, every night. And I give the presentation usually in that same 10-day period in my office. I used to give it to the dogs. I don't have dogs anymore, but in my office, or somewhere in the house, usually in that 7 to 10 day period, at least 5 times minimum. So kind of every other day sort of thing. I'm verbalizing it. I'm listening to it in my ears. I'm speaking it again. Why? I'm over preparing, because in a live room, anything could happen. You could have a heckler. You could lose electricity. You could have somebody have a health issue in the middle of your presentation, right? Your presentation could get pushed back. The presenter might come to you and say, Diane, I know, or use your name, I know you had 90 minutes, but we're running a little behind. Can you scrunch down to 75 minutes? When you've over-prepared, you can do that because you know exactly how to do it, either by talking faster or cutting things. So when you're over-prepared, it's harder for you to get stumped. It's harder for you to be taken by surprise. That's one of the big reasons that you over-prepare in business. And that's true in other areas other than just speaking. But I was at an event years ago now, and there was a woman speaking, and the projector went out. Just boom, all of a sudden. Everything else was on, but the projector went out. And she didn't miss a beat. She did not miss a beat. She walked over where the projector was sitting and picked up a piece of paper and kept on. And I was so mesmerized by this that when she was done, I walked up to her, and eventually it came back on, right? Well, the slides came back like where she was, or at the beginning. And she simply walked over to the computer and did something, and boom, she was right back where she was. Again, never missing a beat. She was so over-prepared. And I went up to her afterwards and I asked her how she did it. And she said, well, did you see me go pick up the piece of paper? I said, yeah. What was it? She said it was a copy of my presentation, my PowerPoint. And so because all of a sudden I didn't have it, I just used it from there. And I said, well, what did you do at the computer? And she said, really simple. When the PowerPoint came back up, I just went to the handout, and it told me I was on slide 56. I just walked over to the computer and hit 5-6 enter, and it pops up. So she was so over-prepared and knew all of these things that she didn't miss a beat, where most people would have stopped. Over-prepare, and you'll always be ready, so you don't have to get ready. That's just one of Diane's dozens. If you want a copy of this, go to dianesdozen.com. Until next time, make it a great day.